catch the sun and dance away. All my friends right by my side, they're lighting up the darkest night. Now they play our favorite song. Everybody sing along. The sunlight makes me smile. My friends are dropping by. No one will break my stride. This is a good time, I'm feeling fine.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to LCK Spring 2020. I'm Atlas, joined by LS once again. And I just want to say, we're sorry for yesterday. The LCK is better than that, and we will improve as the weeks go on. It was a rough one for all of our teams that played yesterday, and today, we've got teams coming to prove to us that the LCK is a top-tier region, and we don't need to worry. All right, we've got the Telecom War to start things off, the, well, old Telecom War. What does the Telecom War now mean, now that T1 is theoretically Comcast and SKT, which is two telecom companies? Are they double the telecom now? Do KT not stand a chance? Or do they already not stand a chance based on the rosters?
That's a good question. That is a good question, Alice. And you know what? I don't have the answer for you.
I don't think anyone does.
I don't think anyone does either.
I don't even know like how you're supposed to power rank these two teams either. It's,
Well, I think T1 is absolutely favored.
Are they?
But there is there's a thing called draft.
Oh.
And
He was just glancing at the script, by the
not
way.
to,
He's going easy mode. LS is going easy mode. You've been ignoring the script so long this season.
Not to
man.
use the D word, but
Well, I mean, that's not the only apology that we have. We, in fact, had a bit of an issue with the player of the game. Bring it up here on your screen. This is what UCal's and Viper's play of the game stats were yesterday. So Viper was player of the game for the first win for Griffin.
Yes.
And was on stage, gave that interview. But unfortunately, there was a mistake with the Korean casters when they sort of got asked for who the MVP was. They reported to over comms like who it was, and they said Varus. And then unfortunately, the person who took down that was like, Varus, that's a bot lane champion.
Yeah.
And then put bot, but unfortunately, it's mid. So there was a little bit of a mistake there. It should have been double MVPs to UCal last night, but it has been rectified now. But we'd really like to apologize to all of you for the confusion. And to any of the fans of Viper that now are like, well, what? He's lost his MVP points now?
Look at the swing vote in media.
Well,
there it was.
The
that's
it right there. Yeah, not sure what that random Tarzan vote was.
Yeah, what was that?
That like when we brought the initial graphic up,
That's
I
the
feel
jungle
like
main.
really it should have been it like. We're really sorry for that one guy that voted for the Crackers, because that definitely shouldn't have been it.
All right, well.
But anyway, yes, we are getting straight into it. We had a look at the schedule first, and these are going to be the points of the match. First Telecom War of 2020. It's good to see that the Korean side, at least of the broadcast, still coins this as the Telecom War, even though teams have slightly changed. You can see the little SK Telecom underneath T1, so it is still the Telecom War that we know and love, but very different when it comes to the teams involved.
And it's also mentioning that KT is a Game 1 powerhouse where they've consistently, well, they're a series that have been interesting to say the least. And remember,
I
they
like
also,
how you had to temper what you were saying there just a little bit.
To layer that up a little bit. As looking at player of the match here, Kuro versus Faker.
And this is probably one of the most storied matchups in Korean League of Legends history. I know that's a big call to make, but Kuro versus Faker goes back to the Ku Tigers days. This goes all the way back to when they were able to make that historic Rox Tigers run and disrupt what was almost the unbeatable SKT lineup that just blitzed through those few years.
The other thing about it is that 2018, 2019, that was really a changing point actually in Kuro's career where he stopped being the mid laner who wouldn't kill you, but you wouldn't kill him.
Yep. He stopped being that sort of mediating force and started to actually carry games himself.
And it was a really big turning point. And I remember having that discussion with a lot of pro players that played in Korea. That Kuro had a very large change as a player, and they didn't really know what to attribute it to because it's not very common that a player is around as long as Kuro and then dramatically changes their entire approach to the game and how they conduct themselves.
Yeah, and it's really cool watching his evolution because even when he was over playing for LGD in the last year where we had to say goodbye to Kuro, it was very depressing. Now finally he's come back so we can be happy again. But he was also a carry force for LGD as well while he was over there, getting a lot of player of the games himself for the LPL. So looking forward to seeing what he can do here for KT, and I'm just excited to see Kuro versus Faker back on the Rift once again, especially surrounded by so many new faces. As you can see, the stats pretty similar. We're going to check out some of the highlights here, though, as KT Game 1 wonders. And that's what happens when you pick up 3 members of, I think, 2017, if I'm not mistaken, of Freaka Freaks. Because they were literally perfect game 1, and then lose the series.
Yeah,
for the majority of their games, it was really bad.
At KT right now against another team that's going to end up playing here tonight.
Yeah.
As well as KT, a little bit unfortunate in some parts of the game, and I really feel like also the way that both of these teams have been drafting, I keep saying the D word, and I'm going to continue to keep saying the D word.
That's allowed, because now we're talking about T1, and I think that it's going to be another time where
T1
the D word's going to be very relevant.
Plagues themselves with drafts, and honestly, there's no other way to put it. This was Faker's narrow escape of the minions that were trying to make that a 1-for-1 trade. As Superflex goes in by Roach, and
I actually really like seeing Cuz on his Gragas as well. I think we're going to be looking towards that as being a big pickup for this next matchup against KT. But honestly, this champion that you can see on your screen right here, the Elodios, that did not a lot other than die in that particular moment, piloted by Nuclear, but I think it will be a big pickup here in this game because Teddy's been playing it, he's been playing well, but aiming has had some of our best performances on the Aphelios so far. Even if they do have a 2-4 record, these are 2 teams that have had double series go all the way to all 6 games. And if you have a look at who T1 have faced, it's been Hanwha Life and Damwon Gaming, whereas KT have gone against Dragon X and Gen G, arguably 2 of our top 3, top 4 teams at the moment. Dragon X yet to prove that to us. They will be able to against Hanwha Life at the end of the day. I think that will be a really big temperature check for both of these rosters. But I think the run for KT has been arguably more difficult than that of T1.
It really has so far, and this will be, I think, an interesting dynamic for them to go up against. So probably not going to feel super pressured up there in the top lane, and we'll also take a look at what kind of champion pool Kuro is actually going to utilize here in mid, because I feel like that can heavily influence.
We did notice that Kuro currently has a 12-1 Varus record, and we watched Yukal not die on the champion last night, pick up back-to-back MVPs with an asterisk at the end. If you look at the VOD, he didn't. But if you listen to us, he certainly did. As we welcome our players onto the stage, the first Telecom War of 2020. SKT brought in a new telecom company to make sure that they had a 2-to-1 ratio of telecoms against KT to guarantee the Telecom War victory. Whether that is actually going to work out here is yet to be determined, but I'm excited to find out because this KT roster, they've been able to surprise in game 1s. If they can't do it against T1, then maybe that's going to tell us more about T1 than otherwise in other matchups.
Tushin aiming Kuro, Bono, and so on. is going to be the starting lineup for today.
Yep, yet to see Ray up towards the top side. Sohan has been the stalwart top laner for KT, at least for the LCK.
Ray's been doing a lot of the unorthodox stuff in solo queue, which is
I like
really
that.
surprising that he hasn't come in.
Well, we'll see whether it's Sohan that can pilot the Soraka to victory. As speaking about top lane, Canna will be starting here. No Roach in game 1 for T1. Cuz, Faker, Teddy, and Effort will, of course, round out this roster. Otherwise, very, very solid with how this team has been going. But it's been the top lane that's been plaguing them. And honestly, I feel like this has been a story for T1 for so many years. The top lane seems to either be where they win or where they lose. And Khan was a bit of a loose cannon. You look back at Marin, he was a bit of a loose cannon, but also a world's MVP. Like, you just never really know what to expect from this squad. I mean, Impact is another one who's now, of course, over in North America, but was a world champion himself. And then lots of others down the line as we get into ban and pick for our first Telecom War of 2020.
See how they're going to start this thing off. Here's what we're looking for, Atlas. We're looking for no Lucian bans.
No Lucian bans.
No Lucian bans. No Elise bans.
Well, look, so far the Rek'Sai's been banned, so I guess that's better than the Elise ban. Don't pack up your things just yet, though. We've still got a few more bans to come through.
Put my shoes back on.
Your shoes are back on?
No, I'm putting them back on.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay, well.
The Gragas is also a really smart one, showing that they're actually going to be pinching Cuz rather than necessarily banning away Rek'Sai because it's a strong champion, and I think this does add relevance to the Rek'Sai ban. The Soraka ban, though, is utter genius.
Yep. Soraka, it's finally really nice to see teams banning that on red side. It is a B1 pick.
Oh.
And, okay, well, that is a very heavy pinch.
And KT have been watching T1's social media recently because Cuz has been popping off on the Karthus. He's been playing many a game, getting many a kill, and surprising even himself with the amount of damage that he's capable of. So good to see that KT have done their research, but sad to see that we're not going to be experiencing that
do they
on the broadcast.
Elise?
No, they B1 Aphelios. Or Set.
Well,
KT
with
has
the
to...
way that they've been banning the jungle,
Oh, Akali
though.
was left up. Okay. And this is a very different Akali pick than the one we saw last night. The Akali pick that we saw last night was from APK. They had Ixu, who's not necessarily expected to be an Akali player. And they also had a rookie mid laner that looked very uncomfortable on the pick. Now, KT can double flex this very, very comfortably, as Aphelios and Set are both locked in here for T1.
So the Set's already picked into one champion that isn't a real target for him. And also is quite good against Set as well. Whenever Set tries to go for the Haymaker, Akali just says, actually, I'm on the other side of you.
The thing that I'd be scared about for T1 if they didn't pick the Set, though, is if KT just, like, second round blue side picks it, and then they have Akali Set as their solos, and that is quite frightening to go up against, and very flexible, so you still might get followed into either lane. But I do understand what you're talking about. The Aphelios pinch is certainly a great one, though, against aiming.
And MF already picked up. I would imagine that KT would pick a jungler in first rotation, given the way that they've banned out. It's going to be the Jarvan.
An interesting priority pick, but not as interesting if you factor in the fact that it's Bono. I mean, likely that he would have gone to the Olaf, decides not to here, and is going to instead pick away a Cuz champion rather than pick a champion for himself. And this, what it's done, is made sure that there are 4 champs that Cuz can't play, and if this Nautilus gets locked in, there might be 6 champions that Cuz can't play.
Let's see if KT does continue to keep pinching. Now, the Jarvan is already dissuading an Olaf pick. And we'll see if KT actually allocates a ban towards Lee Sin or something of that nature.
Lee Sin Elise is what I'm expecting if they continue to go down the jungle route.
As Leona is going to end up biting the dust by T1. And LeBlanc now going to be banned away by KT.
Now,
purely in a vacuum.
Hmm.
LeBlanc doesn't really serve a purpose with the 3 champions that are present on T1, all things considered. And now Rumble ends up getting banned away, so they want to remove the Jarvan Rumble combo.
Yeah, and all that flexibility that Rumble does provide as well. So you can, of course, switch between support top and mid, given what KT already have put together. Last ban here on KT's side, they decided not to go towards the jungle with their first ban. Elise could be taken away here if they would like, but Sejuani is going to be the choice. Interesting.
And there's the Lee Sin that we were mentioning as a champion that we thought could just be banned away. Now a swap over to Diana. Now, Diana and Set both remain as flexes. Diana also able to go into the jungle, even though she doesn't see her buff coming until 10.4, and we're currently on 10.2. So
it's a while.
Yeah.
Bit of a wait for that one.
And you know what? I actually really like what KT just did. They recognize all of T1 is short range, except for Aphelios when he has this green gun. And they're all champions that have to come into you, engage, and Cassiopeia just, she eats it for breakfast. The Miasma.
And also Cataclysm Miasma is such a great combo. Looks like Tucson is playing with a few options, decides not to go Tahm Kench, not to go Braum, and picks Thresh instead. So that is, he's constantly making steps upwards, and I like it a lot. It's Hooks versus Hooks on the bottom side, Nautilus versus Thresh. And the final pick here, Faker going back to a favorite, potentially. These are 2 champions with SKT skins, by the way, as the Syndra is the last pick for T1.
They end up picking the Syndra because you can't go with the Ryze into KT's team composition because, again, you would all be walking into Cassiopeia, and she'd be like the magic card, Wrath of God almost, or as I like to call her, Settle the Wreckage. But T1, now with the AP mid, AP jungle, is going to make it easier for KT to itemize and rune, especially because you don't need to really worry about Set in terms of itemization, as yet again, Set, no targets on KT realistically with his R. There's no one that you really want to R or that you can R and instantly have value on the side of KT, except for maybe pulling the Thresh into the backline, where then he's not going to be as useful. You can land onto the MF, and then you can try to blow her up, but T1, it feels like they really lost control on R4, R5. Whether or not that's going to be enough to stop them from winning, I don't know, but I would really favor KT's draft.
Well, we'll see what KT can actually do with the draft. They have the coveted Akali pick that we saw lose horrendously yesterday, but could come back. We had one fan on Reddit that said that APK Prince looked like a godly team, so we'll see whether this performance on the Akali will be the same as that, and it was just the champion and not the team. Certainly very passionate over there. It was great to see, because APK struggling for fans at the moment. This team on your screen, however, not. And we'll see whether they can make these the abundance of fans happy tonight with a victory over KT, but they will have to prove it all on the Rift, because with his Diana jungle, can he make things happen? So here we go into game 1. Telecom War 2020 Spring. Akali was left available. Soan lapped it up. Expected for it to go to Soan. I don't think we spoke about this enough in the draft, but Soan was certainly a top lane Akali player last year on Hanwha. And so good to see him back with the reins. As Cassiopeia, you saw it in the opening graphic. Kuro, yep. Pretty large win rate. Not as large as Faker's, of course, but certainly a pretty large win rate there. And this is a storied matchup of Cassiopeia versus Syndra. An oldie but a goodie.
And the interesting thing here, we take a look at the runes, and Faker with a bit of a peculiar rune, and so is Kuro actually, both of them taking Scorch, even though neither of these team compositions are early game. So definitely a bit of an eyebrow raiser to not just have Gathering Storm on both, and Kuro's going to have the leg up in this regard. Heal on Faker, as opposed to the teleport that Kuro has. Other thing to notice as well is the phase rush on the Syndra. A lot of players have been taking Phase Rush and going GLP blindly lately in solo queue in every region. NA,
wow, yeah.
EU, and KR. But there's usually certain variables that need to be present in order for you to do this, and fortunately, for T1 and Faker, those variables have been met. Lots of melee champions on the side of KT that are very prone to getting slowed. Easy access for Faker to go into GLP, have an earlier wake up inside of the game, and then get a lot of value out of both the item and the rune.
Well, bit of a face crack there from Canner as Soan skips out of the sweet spot of the Haymaker. It's been a while since we've seen Seth. I believe we didn't get one, other than on the ban list yesterday to get back into the rhythm. I often don't get the face break. I think it's face breaker. Is the one where you pop the two people together.
Yeah, I think that's its name.
I think it's face break. I say face smash.
And
I say all sorts of just different causing violence towards someone's face, I guess, is
Yes.
how I explain the ability. And I apologize to anyone that's that's got a bit of OCD and needs the right skill name to be said, because
Yes.
I am going to get it wrong today, and you'll just have to bear with me. So maybe when he presses that ability button, just like toggle the mute, so that you're going to be okay.
The way that Faker's playing the laning phase right now, Kuro should acknowledge that he's not achieving that much. He can hard crash that wave and just recall into Darksteel plus Control Ward if he would want. But he's actually just playing it very slow. Faker still has the Control Ward as well. And when you have the teleport, generally you want to play an econ game against the opponent.
Yep.
Rather than trying to kill them outright, acknowledge that you're down a combat summoner spell, and instead try to play a game centered around the economy and creating freezes, things that basically attack their mana pool and force them out of lane, and then utilizing the XP lead to your advantage or the superior stats from items.
Yep, and also just being able to, utilize that extra advantage to then possibly go for a kill, right? Like, there's no point in doing it until you've just gleaned what is already just a lead that's available for you on the table if you play things right. Kuro just going to clear out this wave. Not sure where that Q was going. Just getting his eye in for now, I guess.
And Kuro's lane state is still pretty okay. Now remember, Faker has a lot more mana than what is currently being displayed on the screen. He has 2 Corrupting Potions, has Double Biscuit as well. And Soan is just doing completely fine up in top lane as the Diana, she is a jungler that just tends to go from point A to point B.
She can tear through the jungle, maybe not at the very early game, but eventually Pale Cascade plus some extra attack speed that you can pick up from itemization just gives you a whole lot of AoE, so you can clear through your chickens really fast and get yourself around this map. So far, Aiming and Tucson playing pretty far back. And remember guys, KT are the Game 1 wonders. If they lose this game, it's saying some really rough things for KT. So far, they're ahead by about 300, just given their lane positions. And a lot of it has to do with Soan towards the top side, who's been farming very well against Canna, who does have a relatively stacked lane, and that 5-point strike did not go in the correct position as Soan doesn't reactivate.
And the thing,
Shuriken backflip. Ooh, ow, that one hurt him.
Soan is doing a pretty good job as Bono up here knows what roughly the clear is now going to be of Cuz. And want to point out the Sork penetration boots versus the Tear of the Goddess currently in mid lane. He gets the Sork pen boots mostly in anticipation for the second blue buff. By the time he ends up running out of his sustain via the Corrupting Potions, second blue buff will eventually come up, and then he'll pick that up and sustain with that into Lost Chapter. Tushin almost getting a Latios, but not quite.
Yeah, if there was a Calibrum actually, and the Q had landed, Tucson was just straight up dead, but thankfully for him, Teddy forgot to collect the correct guns from the Ether. And it won't be a first blood, but it is going to be first flash in the bottom lane. So Tucson not going to be able to use that for playmaking. We'll see whether that affects what the farm numbers are going to look like as this game continues, because a lot less power going to be present there. Cuz making his way towards topside while Bono is taking this Cloud Drake. Cloud Drake being our first dragon does add to the excitement levels, because it's likely we don't get a more boring Dragon Soul. Bono takes himself a lantern to get out. Doesn't even have to expend the mana. Thank you very much, Tucson, for that one.
You can see Syndra trying to trade right now.
Kuro
Ever
looks
so
so
slightly.
comfortable, though.
Yeah.
Not taking a lot of damage here from Faker.
And the counter pick in mid not really working out that much. Cassiopeia being ahead is definitely surprising, and also Faker's mana management. A little strange, to say the least. Still does have the 3 biscuits, though.
I guess they had to sort of play around where Akali was going still, because you can switch Cassiopeia and Akali into top and mid very easily. So I assume making sure that Canna's matchup isn't awful is the plan, as yeah, solo laners for KT doing well. Canna eventually getting up, as he's going to go and check a blue buff. Just Scry's blooms his way over.
I'm not sure how many minions have been missed by Faker, or how many might be present in front of him right now, but that is definitely a couple of minions of zoned XP. And so on, he's moving like he's got hip trouble against some of these haymakers.
Yeah, it's not necessarily working, is it? As Sohan does pick up his weapon and just takes another one straight to the face. You do get, now, okay, so it's not 10-3 yet, and therefore, it's not decaying movement speed on first cast of the Twilight Shroud. You get it as you jump back in, you know? Like, you're just constantly zipping. So Sohan, utilize it to run out of the way of haymakers. That's why you use that ability. Now, Tucson and aiming, they move up towards the top side. Sohan does have the perfect execution if he wants to use it.
Now, this is the thing
We got to lock him down.
I always talk about is you rotate to the Herald, you pull the laners away from their lanes, and then you end up missing out on CS. So that was one minion wave that just crashed into the turret. And so that's the Rift Herald value. If you end up giving up 2 plates, and now this entire minion wave, the gold that you gain from the Herald it just balances out. It evens out, and you pulled your bot lane away to do this. And so it doesn't even matter right now if KT...
Oh, they got cannon experience, though. That is probably
That is valuable.
thing.
But even if they use this Rift Herald now to get 3 turret plates, it's not a net win. So it's a very bizarre thing where people get trapped into the mindset of it's an objective.
Yeah.
And
look, Shelly is an objective.
okay,
She's great.
tell me about it. Break it down.
You just don't need to invest all of those resources if you don't need to.
Okay.
That's what I was sort of thinking. But maybe, you know, there was an opportunity that KT could use the pushing wave topside in order to get themselves a surprise gank onto Canna or something like that. That opportunity didn't arise. And, oh, he avoided the sweet spot this time. It's fantastic. Aftershock gonna proc and helps Canna out. As he has built towards some magic resist. Sohan will have his Gunblade relatively soon, and as this wave crashed back, I mean, the plates were relatively equalized. I don't know whether they'll be able to get all of them, but very close to picking up a second, as Cuz now will be jumping over to find a control ward in the next little while.
So it looks like Cassiopeia is actually going into Abyssal Mass as her first item. So a bit of a spin on traditional itemization. Yeah, it's not that bad when you consider that it's going to be very valuable against the Diana and against the Nautilus.
And with Canna showing the Aftershock, it'll most likely be a more tanky set.
Yeah.
So they just need to kill Teddy to get rid of the physical damage as Effort goes golden. Sentry is down. Teddy has optimal guns right now as the bullet time comes in. Effort going to go down very low, but Aftershock, so much value right there. And aiming still desperately trying to find a kill, but they had to say goodbye to Bono. They won't be able to get it.
Bono ended up dying there. And so that's going to be first blood, going the way of T1. They're now up 1,000 gold, 40 seconds until the Ocean Dragon.
Now, I was going to talk about this earlier, and I sort of have to talk about it now, but I think today, this game would have been a great one for Bono to go the Warrior Jarvan instead of the Cinderhulk. He has decided to go Cinderhulk, though, so there is another target that Set can look for as far as maximizing that damage. It's a great hook from Tucson, but a really good stopwatch from Effort, and Moonlight Vigil doing some pretty silly things here for Teddy.
I mean, Cataclysm was never cast. Had it been cast on Effort, he would have died. I just have no idea what Bono was doing. Diana came over and
Bono, okay. Teddy going to be put into the Cataclysm. Bono's pretty tanky right now as Tucson taking a lot of damage, takes the Lantern, but Bono once again going to be dead. Golden is Tucson and so on, looks for the perfect execution, but gets face broken and can't actually complete. Secondary ultimate going to be used just to escape, as now Kuro is in the back of a dragon pit and he really doesn't want to be. Tucson, throw him a dang lantern. He doesn't have the cooldown. He's waiting for it. Kuro, yeah, he gets out. I would have yelled at them just for a little while, but no, he didn't actually have that cooldown available, and they let him live. I don't know whether they'll do that next time, and T1 have themselves a big lead now at 12 minutes.
And about a 2,000 gold advantage. They pick up the Ocean. It's going to be Infernal. Now, the champions for KT haven't really come online yet. Cassiopeia still...
Oh, Tucson gets picked.
Well,
the playback does come in here as now Bono's going to find the knock-up, and that is just a bait. And Teddy is going to have to run for the hills. No mana, but no worries after the flash. Almost a double kill. The KT back on the board.
And Diana has a shutdown.
It's Infernal Soul as well. So this is some exciting stuff. As Cuz, yeah, if he dies and aiming picks up the kill, then it could be very scary for T1 fans. That is a few variables that are going to be hard to meet, especially in a controlled environment for KT. Let's have a look at this one once again and watch for where Kuro goes and how he gets caught.
I have no idea what Bono is trying to accomplish right there or what he's trying to do. I wish I had an answer for you, Atlas, but it just doesn't really matter. And Kana having that aftershock, really tanky, so on, not able to do anything. Kuro stuck inside of the pit.
And he yelled at the back of the dragon.
He did.
And then T1 just let him just chill. So I don't know. That was a bit strange. And this is just Tucson getting a really good play. Aftershock paying off. Even got the damage value. And Teddy, not enough follow-up. Bono in the right place at the right time.
So about 1,500 gold lead right now for T1. And Syndra almost has that GLP Essence Reaver completed as well for Teddy. Runic Echo on Cuz. We'll have to see what his second item is going to be. Is it just going to be Dazanya's Hourglass? As still Gunblade and Abyssal Mask going to be a little bit late to complete here on the side of KT. And this wasn't a very action-packed early game. Not a lot of plates going down.
No, not really. And also, I find it interesting, I mean, the Abyssal Mask is great, theoretically, for an extended laning phase, because Kuro negates both the jungler and mid laner with the magic resist.
Hold on.
Yeah, man.
Where did Rift Herald go?
Oh, that's a good point. Bottom lane?
Did it dissipate when he died?
Maybe it was used bottom lane, and then they went for that fight, and we missed it. That could be it, because there are a lot of plates that went down. Like, this turret's very low.
I do believe that we need a lifeline right now.
Yeah. Can we do a phone a friend?
Can we
phone a friend? Producers, if you're listening, if you could just write it on our screen. What happened here is, oh my goodness, just walked into a hook. Teddy gets a free kill onto aiming, and that was special delivery. Kuro's also here.
What is Kuro doing?
Not entirely sure, to be honest, LS. This is bad news bears. He yells excitedly, but that is going to be to his own demise, as now Ward goes in. Bono goes more aggressively than Faker was expecting, and someone's wondering what the heck the rest of his team's doing. Very odd series of events.
Yeah, I don't really know how to describe the Lemony Snicket series of unfortunate events that did just unfold there in the bottom lane, as Akali is still just playing ping pong here with Kana. I mean, they both have their core item completion for sure upon recall. So I'm just trying to layer the minions. Let's take a look at this one more time. Aiming is just...
He was stunned. He was stunned. Never mind.
Yeah.
I was a little bit rude, but Teddy landing the grab at him Q, able to lock him down. And Kuro, that was not the teleport that you wanted to channel. But you can't cancel him anymore, and sometimes if you believe, then things can be good, as Teddy finds the stun, Calibrum and Gravitum. The lockdown potential of that particular combo for the Aphelios very strong, and does reap the rewards immediately. As Shirley going to be the next one. As Shelly confirmed was actually unleashed upon the Rift.
Well, KT are rotating to get it right now. They're down 4,000 gold though, so.
And Effort going for the steal. We'll see whether he can, as he has actually bullied the rest of T1 out of the way. Eventually, Cataclysm does come down, as there it is. Bono going to dash straight back in, as the perfect execution will help grab one of the kills, but now T1's here. Haymaker comes down. Kuro once again going to die as Kuz misses the Q, and now Aiming's looking for the damage, but there's the scat of the week from Faker. Locks him down. Moonlight Vigil going to be flashed from Aiming and does keep him alive. But T1, I think, took Shirley. Or did anyone?
This game is a hot mess.
Yeah, man.
Atlas, this is.
Am I slow today? I didn't sleep all that well last night, but I was wondering whether I'm slow or whether this game is just weird.
I got it.
Not sure how Effort managed to miss that, to be honest. That was
Yeah.
a dredge line that should have probably landed.
Right here, Kana trying to do something, and then Bono taking the kill away from Soan was also so strange. Really
not what
nice
you
dash by Kuz to get onto the other side of Kuro right there, but honestly, everything is just... It's a bit of a... Have you ever had a chocolate mess? Have you ever ate that?
No, I've heard it's good, though.
It is extremely good.
All right.
I'm going to show you a photo of it.
All right, you show me a photo. This is not great, considering the fact that we're not on screen. We can't share it with the viewers, but I'll try and be as descriptive as possible as I find this. First Infernal Drake, in the meantime, is going to be taken here by Kuz on T1's side, and they have basically full map control. 18.5 minutes into this game, a 4,000 gold lead. Probably the best T1 has looked in an early game thus far. One of their better drafts, to be honest, as well, because they have had some trouble with drafting themselves into draft holes. And they've dealt with Izakali quite well in the early game also. As someone has to perfect execution his way out. Won't be able to do that after the next patch.
The thing is KT, they gave away a lot of very small early advantages after such a stable laning phase where Akali was winning in CS, Kuro was winning in XP and CS. And then things just got really random. Bringing over the bottom lane, I mean, Kana, he's going to try to superplex and get away here, and he's going to succeed.
Yep. That's, didn't seem too difficult at all. Great distance with the ult was quite nice, but did still have to flash, and they take the turret. Base race, 19.5 minutes. So far, Soan is in the mid lane.
And
Trying to defend Teddy.
are just in such a commanding position right now in this game. You look at the CS gaps now in mid lane. It's currently a 45 CS advantage for Faker over the Cassiopeia. Set is down a little bit, but the Infernal Dragon, and likely to be a second one going over to T1, is going to be giving them a lot of value.
The thing I want to look at, LS, for us, is the fact that Kuz is performing really well today. And what were we talking about? We were talking about Kuz being just a really great pickup for T1.
Yep.
Well, thanks, Kuz, for making us look smart. Because he's having a real good one. He got the worst end of the draft. He was completely focused by KT. Pulls out the Diana pick that Haru made look pretty fantastic, to be honest. But that was on the Hanwha side. Kuz witnessed it and then said, look, you know what? I reckon I can play this one as well. And so far is looking really good. Currently 3-0-2, close to 100% kill contribution, but no one's quite at that point yet. On T1's side, a few sporadic kills around this map. First two key items coming in for aiming though, so we'll see whether he can put them to good use. Teddy deciding to go for the Runar's Hurricane second, adds a whole lot more utility and AoE damage against clumped up teams, and KT's composition is going to clump.
Yeah.
So I like the Runar's being a little bit rushed here, especially if he can hold on to the Gravitum. Right now, he's only got a couple of bullets left in the canister for that one, so might want to exchange for a new gun. Just a Q away from doing that, but wants to hold on to a potential snare.
Well, at this point, the Jarvan, I think he's picking up a Knight's Vow second item, and as you mentioned earlier on, I'm actually really surprised to see him go tank Jarvan.
Yeah, it's so
all
strange.
things considered, because realistically, there's only 2 primary carries on the side of T1. It's the Syndra, who you have a little bit of difficulty getting onto, and it's mostly Jarvan and Akali's job to do that. And then the Aphelios. And so, if you go Glass Cannon Jarvan, it doesn't matter if you die, because the sustain on the Akali, Cassiopeia, and the MF are so good against the remaining T1 members without either the Syndra or the Aphelios present.
Yeah.
And so, as long as Jarvan fulfills the role of being a sacrificial lamb,
Flash for flash, and the hook going to come back onto Effort here as well. Stone Plate going to be used, does keep Effort alive for a long time, as Moonfall did fly in from Teddy. Don't think that's the name of the ability. Moonshot, that's the one, Moonshot. Didn't find the target though. Bono steals away some puppies and will make his escape. Aiming here just to defend this inner turret, while Canna is split pushing on the bottom side. Kuro pushed out top. Total CS pretty high here for Teddy, but aiming, keeping up as now Faker running away. So on, looking for the flank into the backline, finds Faker. Isn't going to be able to get too much more. Shuriken backflip, doesn't find the mark. And now with Bono so low, not going to have too many options. I like the Kindle Gem in Bono's inventory. I want that to be a Warmogs, because Bono just seems to be taking way too much damage this game.
yeah.
And maybe he doesn't need to have as many trips back to the fountain if he picks up that item. I have a feeling, though, LS, that that is just sitting there ready to be a Black Cleaver.
Well,
I've seen Bono play before.
there's no way it's a Black Cleaver, Alice, okay?
It's guaranteed to be a Black Cleaver.
Absolutely.
I want to prepare you for disappointment as quickly as possible.
I'm already disappointed.
Yeah, it's going to be Black Cleaver Stone Plate.
Okay. Great.
Although it could be Black Cleaver Guardian Angel, which I think might actually be better. Because then you know, he may have made the Cinderhawk mistake, but hasn't continued down the line as Infernal Drake number 2 to be picked up from T1. They will be threatening in 5 minutes, and Infernal Soul, which is terrifying. For this comp, Teddy does so much damage, and Faker also going to have that ability to one-shot someone, especially with the extra explosive damage. And we already mentioned clumped up KT. You add the Infernal Soul to that, that's even more AoE damage potential.
The other thing about this is T1, it doesn't really matter about if this game is going on for much longer, because the Infernal Dragon is coming up so soon, and they're still going to be in such a commanding position because they have a 4,000 gold lead. They have the 2 Infernal Drakes amplifying all of the stats. And when you have champions like Diana that gets dual benefit from Infernal Drakes because she auto-attacks a lot.
Yep.
And so even amplification to her AD is really valuable. It's just a lot for this KT team composition to handle at this point, especially when they're spreading resources amongst champions. And the other thing to consider is base levels. You have 1 in mid lane. You have 2 in AD.
Gonna have to use the heal as Bono dives in, but Tenny's turned it around. Look at the chakrams and the massive damage that came out as the dredge line for Effort, but straight into the wall, finds the depth charge onto Tucson, but he's got the Stone Plate, wanting to stay here for as long as possible and buy time, but he's instead just gonna go straight to the Death Chamber as Kuro gets on top of Cuz, the face breaker from Canna, as he suplexes Kuro right into the back line, and the Haymaker for an instant double kill as he picks up the Jarvan as well. So on, gonna be running for the hills, aiming, no front line left to deal with, and this should be a very comfortable Baron for T1 to pick up.
This is going to be a really easy Baron. The Baron's going to essentially convert into the Infernal Soul capture for free, and so we're looking at this game. T1's team comp, or well, T1 is just way too far ahead. And when they're ahead with the Syndra and the Diana, they have base levels, they have item advantages. These are 2 champions that they're really oppressive. And it's very difficult for the opponent to stabilize and get back to even footing. And I mean, I have no words for Bono's Jarvan play this game. I really don't understand it. Teammates several hundred to 1,000 range plus away.
I thought that you knew BBQ, because this is BBQ Bono. This is what we came to know and love. And then Bono moved over to Hanwha, and the games got better. We had to change our minds
Well-
as far as Bono as a player, but this is what we used to experience every game.
Bono's rise to, or his rise up was a lot centered actually around the Xin Zhao Camille meta.
And Olaf.
And Olaf, right. So very simple champions.
Oh, yeah. He was
And-
our original Mega Sinner.
Yeah, along with Malrong.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
those are...
yeah, maybe Malrong does deserve the prize.
They are absolutely born in sin.
Oh, yeah.
As
They're
T1
our, they get the Dante Award. They get Dante Award
They get
for
something.
the jungle.
I don't even... Lucifer Morningstar is here. I don't even know what is going on, but Bono, I mean, he's had several engages where there is absolutely no way his teammates can follow up.
Yeah.
And then the one time where he should have committed really fast and hard in bottom lane, he looked like he was lagging. It was like molasses uphill in January. I have no idea what was going on there.
I don't know whether he did either, because honestly, it's felt like he's a little bit off kilter. Saying it nicely. 8,000 gold now the lead for T1, though, as they crash down the inner turret. Bottom lane, Inner already fell in the mid lane, and top has a wave stacking up that T1 should be able to go and meet whenever they want to. In fact, that lane state is absolutely perfect for how T1 want to siege this out. They can use the rest of this Baron for a minute's time, and then there should be a huge stack of red dots for them to attend at that inner turret. As Calibrum from Teddy, he's got Crescendum alongside it as well. Still playing with a few less bullets on this Calibrum right here. So not going to be able to fit in any Qs as he's switching it around. But that long range certainly going to be there. I believe Crescendum, if you hit the Q on the Crescendum, the turret, if it hits someone, it tags. There it is, Moonlight Vigil does come down.
What are you
Bono
doing?
diving into the back line. He presses his button on the lantern, but he's unable to actually save himself, as Unleashed Power will follow you. And yeah, this has not been the game for Bono so far. I didn't even notice him going in because it was so weird that he decided to, and I was talking about Ophelia, so it required all of my brain in order to do that. As the hook goes wide there from Tusha, but honestly, there is nothing the rest of KT can do. This has been Bono not quite having the game in him today, and Kuro also with some questionable decisions, but a lot of it had to do with Kuro following up on decisions that Bono was making and then just being made to look silly afterwards. A lot of those teleports in the early game.
He just single-handed. You ready? Are you ready? Here comes the Leroy Jenkins. What teammate on KT can follow? None. There is no one that can close that distance. I don't know what he's looking at.
Do you know what it is? It reminds me of that time when you had like Hecarim was like massive in meta, and he'd be like, guys, I'm going in, and he just canters. He canters majestically up the mid lane, and he's like, I can still get him, guys. I can still get him. He's cantering. He launches himself towards the opponent. He's then onslaught of shadows into the back line, and everybody else is sitting in the fountain, and Hecarim's like in the enemy fountain. You know, that's what that moment was. That's a big shout out to our old mate Sam Broadley from back in OCE. He used to talk about those moments when it comes to Hecarim engages many a time. I believe he's in NA at the moment, assistant coaching one of the teams, but was one of our more famous players for the Chiefs Esports. Bit of OCE trivia for you there, I guess. But yeah, some good times with Hecarim was certainly had. As that inner turret that we were talking about, that wave crashing on down. KT are here to try and meet it though, and the Baron is going to be respawning in 1 minute and 20. And Infernal Soul, as I was having my weird Hecarim rant, was taken, of course, by T1 with full map control. And 10,000 gold in the lead.
All right, well, this is...
Oh, in he goes again. Here we go. Goes Golden, does Faker. He will keep himself alive. Uses the heal as well just to make sure he's going to be all right. As Teddy switches to Severum, keeps himself alive there. Don't know whether it was entirely necessary. As so on goes Golden, and Cuz will pick up the kill. Just couldn't quite get there. Got almost every summoner spell that was defensive out of T1. But the Akali pick not working out yet again.
Yeah, this is going to be 2 losses now for Akali.
Yeah, 0 and 2. Why are we even banning her?
Well, that would be result-based analysis. But that would,
Is it Elise also results-based analysis? Is that how that is? Because her
I
win
see what
rate's
you did
also
there.
really low.
I see what you did there. Yeah.
Also, is MF a terrible champion because her win rate is very low, staggeringly low, and will only get lower as these Nexus turrets fall down. Dredge line goes wide, but it doesn't matter. Effort is absolutely fine. It's just this Nexus that has to fall down. Cuz also does fall, but it doesn't actually matter. The main 50 gold that you get in the game goes over to T1. And they are going to be able to start this series off with a win. Telecom War win number 1 going over to T1. And game 1 wins were all that KT were good at in week 1.
And I mean, that was just a really strange Twilight Zone of a game number 1. I have no idea. KT were so stable in good.
Yeah, their
in
early
all of their
laning phase
lanes.
was so good.
And then from building Tank Jarvan that game to also just throwing away the entire early game. Jarvan starting the Rift Herald, pulling his bot lane over, making them lose XP, making them lose CS, getting the Herald, never utilizing it. I have no words that are nice.
Yeah, well, do you want me to give you an insight into what the top
Want to give you
comment-
some antonyms?
I can give you some insight on what the top comment on Reddit is going to be.
Yeah.
It is going to be KT Bono has disconnected, BBQ Bono has reconnected. Because that was, unfortunately, a look back to a lot of his old tendencies that really did not work out for BBQ before they went down to challenges, and then you inherited them.
I just want to preface this. There's nothing defensible about that play.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
We're commentating what's on the screen. And
Yeah.
so...
Oh, no, you don't need to defend
I
that.
don't-
You
I don't-
when someone
it
makes a
was
whoopsie,
something.
everyone can see the whoopsie in motion. And that was only a whoopsie. However, the game was largely lost at that point. Not defending Bono necessarily, but that one play would not have changed how this game was going to go because T1 had absolute control. It's great to see this squad that we were expecting to be top 4, for goodness sake, top 3,
Yes.
in my opinion. But after week 1, I was in turmoil. I didn't know where we were supposed to put our, our hopes for Worlds of 2019 after that first week. If they're able to win game number 2 of our first Telecom War, then maybe, just maybe, after a 2-0, we can hope again for T1. Let's find out after the break.
잘봐 누구이거든? 잘봐 누구이거든?
야 그러면 끝내면 하자. 얘네 궁 없어. 끝내면 해. 네트 볼게.
나 들어가도 돼.
카시도 노공이야 거의.
나 괜찮. 자르반 노궁이야 미포랑. 상대 스펠은 바이집을.
일단
생각해. 라이브 들어간다 이거.
왼쪽부터 천천히.
오케이.
천천히.
카운터라 그냥.
천천히.
그래 4초. 거의 끝났다.
야 미전 먼저 줘봐. 이거 미전 먼저 들린다.
갈게. 아, 저 죽었네. 점사하자 그냥. 점사해줘. 전냐 두번 뚫리는데.
예.